Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.
On News Hour tonight, INEC meets 18 political parties, presents voter register. President Buhari insists Boko Haram a plot to destabilize Nigeria. Mother of nine-year-old killed by stray bullets in Katsina, facing psychological trauma. And on the international scene, Uganda declares end of Ebola outbreak after 4 months. Hello and welcome to News Hour on Trust TV. I'm Darshan Hussaina Usman. The news in full. Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has presented voters' register to the 18 political parties ahead of the Presidential and National Assembly, as well as governorship and state assembly elections scheduled to hold on February 25th and the 11th of March this year. Noel Sampson has more.
The Commission had last year suspended its continuous voters' registration exercise to focus attention on the forthcoming elections. Total registered voters now rose to 93,469,008. The Commission said female registered voters are 44,414,846, representing 47.5%, while male registered voters are 49,054,162, which is 52.5% of the voting population.
The distribution by age group shows that 37,060,339, or 39.65%, are youth between the ages of 18 and 34. 33,413,591, representing 35.75%, are middle-aged persons between the ages of 35 and 49. 17,700,270, representing 18.94%, are elderly voters between the ages of 50 and 69, while 5,294,748, representing 5.66%, are senior citizens aged 70 and above. In terms of occupational distribution, students constitute the largest category with 26,027,481 voters, representing 27.8% of the total.
INEC Chairman Professor Mahmood Yakub seized the opportunity to dismiss reports of planned postponement or cancellation of the coming elections.
The repeated assurance by the security agencies for the adequate protection of personnel, materials, and processes also reinforces our determination to proceed. The 2023 general election will hold as scheduled.
Political parties reassured the Commission of the full support in order to have a free, fair, and credible elections.
We have to put the country forward. We don't put the country under intense pressure that this democracy, making that the world to look as if there's, the democracy will not succeed, or this election there will be problem. We are not seeing any problem. Yet people will attempt to frustrate it, but we should please see that we work together to see that we own this country.
The electoral umpire restates commitment to its critical stakeholders of conducting a free, fair, and credible election. Noel Sampson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
President Muhammadu Buhari on Wednesday said Boko Haram was a fraudulent plot to destroy Nigeria. The president stated this while receiving the executive members of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Nigeria at the State House, Abuja. He faulted the ideology of the terrorist group, which barred people from seeking knowledge, thereby affecting the intellectual growth of citizens. President Buhari said the gains recorded in security would be further consolidated and more attention given to the economy before handing over on May 29, 2023. On the economy, the president said creditors had full confidence in Nigeria with the capacity to utilize resources and repay loans before the approvals were granted. In his remarks, the leader of the delegation and president of the CBCN, Most Reverend Lucius Iwejuru Ugoji, commended the president for reforms in the electoral system, making it more stable and fair, particularly the signing of the electoral bill into law. On security, at least 5 suspected bandits who have been terrorizing communities in Al-Kaleri local government area of Bauchi State have been arrested by vigilantes in the state. The arrest follows sustained onslaught against the activities of bandits and kidnappers in the area. The caretaker committee chairman of the council, Bala Ibrahim Al-Kaleri, announced the arrest of the suspected kidnappers at Mansur village of Gwana district. According to a statement from the council's caretaker committee chairman, the suspects were apprehended during a special patrol by joint vigilante groups on the instruction of the council. He commended members of the vigilantes for securing towns and villages and assured that the council would continue to provide them with the necessary support to complement the efforts of the state government in protecting lives and property. Suspected bandits have killed a community leader and member of the Fitianul Islam First Aid Group in Igabi local government area of Kaduna State. The bandits who abducted the victim at his residence in Ungwerme Awo village alongside his nephew also abducted 4 other women, including a nursing mother in the same community, when they stormed the village located near Maraban Jos along the Kaduna Zaria Highway. The incident happened in the early hours of Wednesday, according to local sources. A youth leader in the area identified as Adam Ungwer Awo confirmed the incident. Awo, who explained that the bandits shot sporadically to scare villagers when they arrived in the community, injured 2 other villagers who were taken to an undisclosed hospital for treatment. The State Police Command is yet to issue a formal statement on the incident. Still on security, mother of the 9-year-old primary 1 pupil, Muhammad Jawad, killed by a stray bullet allegedly fired by a police officer in Katsina, is said to be suffering from psychological trauma. Abdullahi Yamadi meets the mother of the deceased, Shafa'atu Bashir, at her residence where she shares her ordeal since the incident almost a week ago. His report.
Shafa'atu Bashir says since the unfortunate event that led to the killing of her child, she has been suffering from high blood pressure, weakness, and her condition is getting worse by the day. The mother said Jawad is a promising child whose ambition to be a gallant military officer was cut short by a stray bullet allegedly fired by a police operative. According to her, Jawad's ambition was to be a senior military officer to help in instilling discipline and restore peace and tranquility in the country he holds so dear. Shafa'atu could not hold back tears, explaining how it was reported to her that police operatives have killed her child.
If I tell you how and what I am feeling right now, I'm lying. I have been sick, and my husband is battling to get me diagnosed in hospitals. I have not eaten for almost 7 days now. They killed my child, whose desire was to be a military officer.
The family, she said, received series of invitations from the Police Criminal Investigation Department in Katsina over the incident. Some residents of the area where the incident happened blame the police operatives for unprofessional conduct, which led to the killing of Jawad and inflicting gunshot injuries on 3 others.
On that fateful day, we were around when the DJ was performing at a wedding event. To be honest, there was nothing that could warrant the presence of any security agents because everything was going smoothly until the police officer arrived. He threatened everyone here, and that was how the problem started. There was no attempt by anybody to drag with the police officer. It is a lie that someone attempted to disarm the police.
kafin alhalbi a gaskiya ba rikici tun da komo da auren matsayi muke mana kallo har ma a tashi dijan ba za a yi rikici.
Right activists and members of civil society organizations in the state have vowed to ensure justice against the little boy. Abdullahi Ismail, Trust Television News, Katsina.
Family of the deceased son of Senator Kabir Gaya, Sadiq Gaya, has petitioned the Inspector General of Police and the Director of Public Prosecution at the Ministry of Justice to intervene and ensure that justice is served. The family, through its lawyer, is requesting that the suspects be rearrested, detained, and subsequently put on trial to determine whether they are innocent or not. The report.
Addressing the media on Wednesday, the family is alleging that 6 persons, including Abdul Omolori, the son of former clerk of the Senate, Sani Omolori, who were initially arrested in connection with the incident, have been released on bail. They said they believe there is an attempt by the investigating police officers to cover up the matter, since the evidence available from the autopsy and the witness are with security agencies who are yet to act on the evidence.
In this particular case, no charge has been preferred. They were never brought before the court of law in connection to the crime. They were arraigned for a different thing entirely that had nothing to do with the crime that they committed. And on the grounds of those false arraignments, they were released on bail because the crime for which they were arraigned were bailable offenses and not the real crime that they committed. Which means that in the circumstance, we call on the IG to look into the IPOs who were involved in this case and let questions be asked in the circumstance.
And the first doctor's reports did not indicate that he drowned, because after killing him, they went and dumped him in the swimming pool to show as if he was drowned already. But all we know is that the police have seriously compromised, because Omolori is a big man, he has money, he has been giving them dollars as we had. There's nothing to hide because we're in Nigeria. Because there's no way that a case of murder will be turned to something else and then gone to court under another case entirely, removing the mother and everything that transpired. No judge would have bailed him because any case of murder is not bailable in Nigeria yet.
The FCT Police Command, through its spokesperson, Josephine Ade, had announced the arrest of suspects in connection with the death of the Kano-born 34-year-old father of 2 in mysterious circumstances on September 13, 2022, as his body was recovered from a hotel pool. But on the recent development, it is yet to issue an official statement on the matter. Aisha Salihu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
In crime, a Chinese national, Frank Geng Quangron, who allegedly killed his suitor, Kulsum Sani Bahari, on Wednesday, opened his defense before Kano State High Court, where he testified that he spent over 60 million naira on the deceased. Led in evidence by defense counsel Muhammad Balade Bedang Azami, Frank told the court that in June 2020, Kulsum got his phone number from her friend and called him to indicate her interest in him as well as her willingness to marry him. Frank further told the court in February 2022 that the deceased left him broken-hearted when she married someone else, forcing him to relocate to Abuja. The defendant told the court that he gave the deceased 18 million naira for business, bought a 4 million naira house for her, jewelries worth 5 million naira, and 6 million naira for university certificate, and clothing materials, among others, worth millions of naira. Moving away from that story, police operatives in Katsina have busted a 3-man syndicate of suspected kidnappers who came to collect ransom in Katsina City. The suspected kidnappers were apprehended Tuesday evening when they arrived Katsina from Kano. Abdullahi Yamadi has details.
The police also succeeded in rescuing the kidnapped victim Fatima Abubakar unhurt.
Su wane ne suka dauke ki?
Abdul.
To ya suka ga maka lokacin da za su dauke ki?
Aka suka ce wai umma suna Katsina wai za su kai ni Katsina.
The person who organized this kidnapping is almost a cousin, I can say a cousin to the victim. He organized this crime from Kano, Basharawa, where he lured this young girl. Her name is Fatima Abubakar, 6 years old.
The police public relations officer, SP Gambo Isa, said the victim, Fatima Abubakar, was kidnapped from Bacharawa quarters in Kano and taken to Katsina. The kidnappers demanded 2 million naira as ransom.
And in the course of investigation, we busted the syndicate. We've arrested all the 3 suspects that are here. Abdurazak Ibrahim alias Popular, 19 years, of Bacharawa quarters. Aliyu Salisu alias Shilo, age 19 years, of Sabuwar Ungwa quarters, Katsina. And Mohammed Ibrahim alias Zalamu, 19 years, of Gidandawa quarters, Katsina.
According to the police, the principal suspect, Aliyu Salisu alias Chilo, was caught at the point of receiving the 2 million naira ransom. The police command advised parents to be wary of the company their children keep to ensure that they don't get into the wrong group. Abdullahi Ismayamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
A retired colonel, Rabiu Garba, has described his abduction by suspected terrorists as a blessing to Zamfara State and Nigeria at large. The retired colonel was abducted on the 1st of January 2023 along the Gusau-Afe Road and taken to an unknown location. He was recently released by suspected terrorists after payment of ransom, an amount Rabiu Garba did not want to disclose. Colonel Garba, retired, revealed that he met the high-profile terrorists, including those the Nigerian military had declared wanted, adding that some of the messages the terrorists gave him were not fit to be disclosed to journalists. He told journalists that he was neither maltreated nor manhandled because they wanted him to pass a message across to the federal government.
I want to use this short opportunity to thank, first of all, thank Almighty Allah for the mercy and the blessing that shown to me and my family this morning. And secondly, also extend my sincere gratitude to the state government and the people of Zamfara State for their support and prayers. Me to be in this place this morning. I just believe and hope my kidnapping or being kidnapped should be a blessing to the entire people of Zamfara State and the country in general.
Still talking crime and security, police tactical operatives have arrested 2 suspected gun runners identified as Emmanuel and his female counterpart Nana Ibrahim along the Gusau, Wenke and Sadao Road in Zamfara State. The command's public relations officer, Muhammad Shehu, in a statement, said the duo was intercepted while conveying 325 rounds of live ammunition and 1 AK-47 rifle magazine. Shehu said the suspects were arrested sequel to intelligence information received about the supply of the exhibits from Benue State to an undisclosed terrorist camp in Zamfara State. The PPRO noted that on-the-spot search by the operatives led to the recovery of the exhibits, adding that the suspects had, in the course of investigation, confessed to having engaged in several gun-running businesses with terrorists operating in Zamfara and other neighboring states. He disclosed that efforts are ongoing to apprehend their partners and charge them to court for prosecution. You're watching News Hour on Trust TV. Coming up after the break, coping with cash withdrawal limits. Do stay with us.
This is Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Ba a iya sutura da abinci jin daɗin duniyar mu ya ƙare. Za ka iya more rayuwarka da kayan alfarma na kamfanin Vento Furniture kamar su Ladi Corner Sets, Escape Sofa Sets, Acadia Sofa, Piano Sofa Sets, Sofa Corner Sets, Vento Sofa Sets. Sannan kuma za ku iya saka ƙayatattun gadaje na alfarma a ɗakunan kamar su Gold Cream Bedroom Sets ko kuma ku wadata falon ku da kujeru na alfarma irin su Sare Royal Set da Acadia Dining Sets. Ofishoshin ku kuwa za ku iya saka manya-manyan kujeru na kece raini domin walwala da jin daɗin ku da abokan hulɗa. Kamfanin Vento Furniture ya tanadar muku gadajen bacci na yara masu inganci, kayan ɗaki irin na angwaye da amare har ma da sarakuna. Muna da shagunan mu a gurare kamar haka: 79 Allen Avenue, Ikeja, Lagos; 7A Azikiwe Road, Port Harcourt; 25 Glover Road, Ikoyi, Lagos; Shop U1 Jabi Lake Mall, Abuja, da kuma 4330 Walker Road, Windsor, Ontario ga mazauna ƙasar Canada. Vento Furniture, mun zagaye ko'ina.
Daily Trust presents 20th Daily Trust Dialogue. Theme: Interrogating the 2023 Presidential Agenda. Panelists:
Mrs. Ibukun Awoshika, former Chairman, First Bank of Nigeria.
Professor Jibrin Ibrahim, Professor of Political Science and member of the Board of the Center for Democracy and Development, CDD. Dr. Yetunde Anibaba, Lecturer, Analysis of Business Problems, Lagos Business School. Dr. Eugene Enahoro, Human Capacity Development Specialist and CEO, Heltoni Services Limited. Date: Thursday, 25th January 2023. Time: 10 a.m. Venue: NAF Conference Center and Suites, Gwarimpa Expressway, near Next Shopping Mall, Kado, Abuja. For sponsorship and branding participation, contact 081 00 49 1948, 081 65 32 0660, or 080 33 92 8902. The event will be broadcast live on Trust TV.
Now, as part of efforts to support Africa's goal of strengthening...
Now, looking at the activity chart, as you can see right here, a total volume of 130...
Created a Boko Haram crisis that at that time was restricted to Yobe.
How secured are they? You can see security men with blood.
This is the road leading up to the...
Really, if you look at English squad, you are looking at EPL, you are looking at their names. You are not looking at...
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is News Hour on Trust TV. A recap of our top stories. We told you that INEC meets 18 political parties, presents a voter register. We also told you that President Buhari insists Boko Haram a plot to destabilize Nigeria. Moving to more stories, ahead of the 2023 general elections, the Independent National Electoral Commission in Gombe State has engaged stakeholders as part of efforts to ensure the conduct of a free, fair and credible election in the state. Speaking to newsmen at the end of the stakeholders' engagement in Gombe, the state resident electoral commissioner said there is progress in the collection of permanent voter cards in the state. Ibrahim Ismail reports.
Barely 6 weeks away from the 2023 general elections, officials of the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC), heads of security agencies, representatives of political parties, as well as those of religious and traditional institutions, have gathered in Gombe to brainstorm on ways of ensuring a smooth conduct of the election. At the meeting, the stakeholders deliberated on preparations, electoral processes, guidelines, and safety.
INEC is very much prepared, very much prepared. As I have said, out of 14 items in our timeline, INEC has already concluded 10, leaving just 4. So that's the next one is the publication of register of voters, which is expected to come tomorrow, and then notice of polls, which will be coming later, and then closing of campaigns, and then the election day. So all this, INEC is very much online.
In December last year, there were more than 230,000 uncollected PVCs in Gombe State, but INEC says about 90,000 of the cards have been collected as at January 2023, a development INEC says is commendable.
Of course, there is a lot of improvement. There's a lot of improvement.
Level of collection.
The level of collection is very, very impressive. Very, very impressive. I'm telling you now. Because as of today, I think what we have as collected PVCs, we have over 90,000 that have been collected, leaving a balance of about 140 something. And we still have about 10 days to go. So it is very encouraging.
Security operatives, political parties, and religious leaders have taken a stand against political thuggery and hate speech before, during, and after the polls.
They should play by the rules, ensure that people are educated enough, campaign maturely as in the civilized manner, eschew violence and thuggery, warn their team members not to destroy or maim fellow contestants or citizens.
All the candidates, irrespective of their political parties and religious inclination, they are people of Gombe State, and all of them will continue to remain in Gombe State. So my advice is for them to be brothers and sisters to each other.
My major message for them is to please ensure that they don't instigate their people against others. Let them ensure that we have a peaceful election.
It is the belief of stakeholders in the electoral process that if they work together, a peaceful conduct of the 2023 general elections is guaranteed. From Gombe, Ibrahim Ismail reporting for Trust TV.
Thank you, Ibrahim, for that report. Moving on, Assistant Inspector General of Police in charge of Zone 14, Katsina, Edward Ibuka, has asked politicians to desist from any acts that could jeopardize conduct of the 2023 general elections. The AIG gave the warning during an interactive session with candidates of political parties, independent National Electoral Commission officials, security agencies, and other stakeholders in the state. Abdullahi Yamadi reports.
AIG Edward threatened to deal with anyone found trying to destroy public properties during campaign rallies, saying security operatives will do all they could to defend the nation's democracy. The interactive session was primarily convened with the candidates of 18 political parties participating in the upcoming elections in Katsina State to brainstorm on the rules of the game.
The police will be fully engaged in the security of the states, in this instance Katsina, during or before, during and after the elections, the protection of polling officials, protection of electorate and materials, and then, of course, the political actors.
Katsina State Commissioner of Police Shehu Nadada charged the candidates to sensitize their followers on the electoral rules and guidelines before, during, and after elections. He urged parties and their candidates to preach the gospel of peace among their followers to attain a hitch-free elections.
On your electioneering campaigns, it is expected that you inform the police in writing of your campaign schedule so that security will be provided for you and be advised appropriately. The notification will be provided for you. The notification by the candidate will be treated on first come, first served basis.
The INEC resident electoral commissioner in the state, Professor Yahya Makarfi, charged politicians to adhere strictly to all provisions in the Electoral Act.
I will therefore use this opportunity to call on each and every one of us to do the best that we can to be guided by the provisions of the law. Nigerians and indeed Nigeria expects nothing less from us.
Earlier, the Assistant Inspector General of Police, Zone 14, has paid a familiarization visit to Katsina State Command to review strategies towards success of 2023 elections. The command complained of inadequate manpower, patrol vehicles, and other gadgets in all its area commands as well as 38 divisions. This is coming at a time security operatives are battling with banditry ravaging some parts of Katsina State. Abdullahi Ismayamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
Ahead of the 2023 general elections, eligible voters in Jos, the Plateau State capital, expressed worry over missing PVCs. The eligible voters said they have been visiting the centers designated for the collection of the PVCs but were unable to collect them as the PVCs were not available. Ado Musa, who visited some of the ward registration centers, reports that some of the centers were deserted while some were filled with people waiting to collect the PVCs. The report.
Community leaders at the Ward Coalition Centers of Gangere and Islamia in Jos Metropolis said the turnout of eligible voters coming to pick their PVCs was low. While some coalition centers were deserted, some were congested with people complaining about missing PVCs and the slow pace of the exercise. I came to pick my PVC, but I wasn't able to collect. They told me they haven't seen mine. This is my 5th time of coming here, and yet I haven't succeeded. I could not get mine and that of my 2 children. They will always tell me to return tomorrow, but nothing will change. I am tired of coming. I came to collect my PVC, but I was told that it is not available. They told me that some PVCs were yet to be brought. They asked me to check again if mine will be available. I will come back again because I really want the PVC. It is very, very important. I'm here to get my PVC, but I'm yet to collect it. Those who are responsible for the distribution of the cards are making the process difficult, and that is why we are finding it difficult to collect the cards. If they had organized the place, everything will be easy. Despite these issues, voters hope that INEC will be able to locate and distribute all missing PVCs before the closing date of the exercise. Ado Musa, Trust TV News, Jos.
The President's Court of Appeal Justice Monica Dongban Mensem has warned Election Petition Tribunal secretaries to resist little gratifications in the course of discharging their duties. The President's Court of Appeal gave the warning at the opening of a 2-day training workshop on capacity building for secretaries and other support staff of the EPT. The report.
According to the Court of Appeal President, the training with the theme Challenges Arising from Election Tribunal and the Way Forward is in anticipation of the general election coming up in a few weeks.
If you are not out to serve the nation, please don't accept this assignment when you are posted. And we are going to be watching you closely.
The INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, who was represented by May Agbamuche Mbu, pledged the Commission's continued support to the tribunal.
The Registry of an Election Petition Tribunal is the administrative hub of election petition proceedings. It is of utmost importance, therefore, that you pay close attention to the enabling laws which empower you in the performance of your duties.
Country Director, International Foundation for Electoral Systems, Serai Jah, commended the initiative.
As described already, the unique roles played by the EPT registry staff cannot be overemphasized. They contribute greatly to the smooth running of the EPTs, thereby increasing the credibility and integrity of the courts in resolving elections dispute.
Deputy Chief Registrar, Election Petition Tribunal, Kabiru Akombi, said a software had been developed for EPT for effective case management.
What you have mentioned, my lord, is the development of an Election Petition Tribunal case management. We have the introduction of a case management software. Here you will be taught how the software works. This will be the first of its kind.
The Court of Appeal is the penultimate court empowered to establish such tribunals, with the registries open 7 days before the election. The registry is saddled with the administrative responsibilities of the tribunal and is headed by the secretary, who is the principal administrative staff.
A Jos-based volunteer group has commenced the mobilization of registered voters to collect their permanent voter cards at designated areas to enable them participate in the forthcoming elections. The gesture, according to the group, follows INEC's revelation that thousands of PVCs remain uncollected. Ado Musa completes the report.
On January 6, INEC kicked off the collection of the PVCs at the ward centers to ease the process. Despite localizing the exercise, thousands of registered voters are yet to pick theirs at the designated centers. It is against this background that the volunteer group mobilizing voters in major street and market in Jos to encourage them to pick their PVCs to enable them participate in the election. We are going round to tell the people the importance of the PVCs. We are telling them to know that even if they are not going to vote during the elections, it is important for them to collect it and keep for further use. Although the Commission had publicized the collection of the PVCs through various channels, the group believes that it is important to amplify such publicity due to the significance of the cards in the electoral process. People are often reluctant when it comes to important issues like PVC collection. There are people that even if you bring the PVCs to their doorsteps, you will still need to convince them before they collect it. Before now, one had to go to the INEC offices at the local government level, but today the PVCs have been brought to the registration centers. It is easier to collect them now. INEC had in December last year said, after the 15th of January 2023, the exercise will revert to the local government offices of the Commission until the 22nd of January 2023. Ado Musa, Trust TV News, Jos.
Nigerians have called on the federal government to look into the Central Bank of Nigeria's new cash withdrawal policy for additional reviews as mixed reactions continue to trail the policy. Trust TV's Kabir Lowell examines the economic hardship faced by these Nigerians and POS operators. The report.
Central Bank of Nigeria recently raised the cash withdrawal limit set for individuals and corporate organizations to 500,000 naira and 5 million naira respectively. However, since the review, cross-section of Nigerians and POS operators have vocalized their concerns over the increase in the charges and limits of withdrawals.
Oh, it affected us. If government made any policy today, I want you to understand one thing. It's the masses. You understand? It's the masses that always affect. It affected us in so many ways. For instance, this issue of even the people that they are collecting 100, 200, they are the one that felt that really affects.
Before, customers were patronizing us in terms of withdrawing in a huge amount, but now as the police now employ customers, despite the fact they are allowed to withdraw using POS more than 100,000, but the bank is 100,000 naira only. Now they are no more coming to withdraw from us because we, the POS, we are getting money through the bank, which we are not withdrawing more than 100,000.
This 100,000, if you went to the bank from the ATM, if you want to withdraw money, from that 100,000, 5% is their charges, which almost all the customers are complaining. And we, the POS, we are not okay with it. It affects us a lot.
POS operators said the policy has affected their businesses negatively as customers cannot withdraw large amounts like before.
It affects everybody from the top, right? It's not just one person, right? It begins like a circle. And then at the end, it's the people at the grassroots that suffers it. Because you see that more money salaries are not increased. So the person at the bottom will keep giving and giving, and then there'll be nothing.
Most of the money that is generated from the government, we are the ones even generating it from them. We, like, our social welfare is not even included in the major things we are meant to be getting from the government.
Observers are of the view that the intervention of the Apex Bank with PEX cash withdrawal limit can regulate the amount of cash outside the banking system and can also discourage promoters of vote buying. Kabir Lawal, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Thank you, Kabir, for the report. Now, similarly, the Central Bank of Nigeria has sensitized traders in Mina markets on the security features of the redesigned 200, 500 and 1,000 naira notes. The Apex Bank said the sensitization was also geared towards ensuring that citizens, especially traders, take the old notes to banks before the January 31st deadline. The report.
The Minna branch controller of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Ademola Sahid Mohammed, said the people at the grassroots and traders must be enlightened on the security features to avoid falling victims of counterfeit notes. He warned traders against coloring the old currencies, saying that anyone who indulges in the acts will face the law. The branch controller advised those residing in the rural areas where there are no commercial banks to open accounts with microfinance banks, are key into cashless policy of the Central Bank.
We need to bring it down. Even though so many things have been done on television, on radio, jingles, and even on social media. But we need to come. The real people that uses the money most are the cash, the market people.
While the CBN said new currencies are in circulation, traders, especially those who go to rural areas to buy goods, said there were no effective channels for e-transaction, and banks still issue them with old currencies 20 days to the deadline.
However, the challenges we face here is that our customers here, if they are buying, they give us the old notes instead of the new notes. And again, if you went to the bank so that they will exchange it for us, they will not exchange it. That is not that much for now. That is the challenges we are facing now.
Then put 31st of this month, some people will not happy because of people where they are inside bush. Because when we go market, we buy and pay them. Not be all of them have bank. Not be all of them have handset to operate all changing the money.
They called for extension of the deadline from January 31st to enable them ample opportunity to take their monies to banks. From Mina, Abubakar Akote, Trust TV News.
The news are on Trust TV. More stories shortly.
This is Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Residents of the Federal Capital Territory are hereby alerted to the activities of scavengers, also known as Babambula, which security agencies have identified as a high-level security threat to not only the residents but also to our infrastructure as they perpetrate petty stealing and acts of vandalism on public utilities. More so, they are drug peddlers, serve as spies to terrorist elements, and are ready-made tools for the public disturbances during which they attack people with dangerous weapons. The Federal Capital Territory Administration therefore reiterates that the ban on scavengers aka Babambula operating within the Federal Capital City is still in force. These miscreants are advised to stay off the streets of the Federal Capital City for their own good, as defaulters will be apprehended and prosecuted, including parents of underage children involved in these practices. Relevant agencies are carrying out enforcement of this ban as stipulated. Be law-abiding always. Let's together build the FCT of our dreams. Management announcer.
Nigerians, elections are here again. Let us shun violence. Let us play the game according to the rules. Do not be a thug. Say no to violence. Let's rise and defeat violence, crime, and sabotage against the peace of our nation. Nigeria is the only country we have. We must do everything to keep it united. We must avoid any act that promotes hate and disintegration. Say no to separatist movement, terrorism, fake news, hate speech, religious bigotry, and any act that tends to divide us as a nation. Watch out for strange gatherings and suspicious movements. Restrict access to sensitive documents and data, the disclosure of which may damage national security. Educate your staff and family, particularly on measures to safeguard information and report security breaches. Apply relevant legal security guidelines to protect yourself and your neighbors. Due to misinformation and wrong choices, some idle persons resort to vices in their greed to get rich quick. They resort to kidnapping, killings for rituals, and other heinous crimes. Avoid wrong use of the social media. Before you broadcast that false message, think twice. Ask whether it will promote peace or violence. For safety at home, still be security conscious. Educate your household on safety tips. Report all suspicious movements and persons to the security agencies nearest to you. Be a good citizen. Be patriotic. To pass security information, please call 0813-222-2105, 0915-339-1309, 0908-837-3514, or send a mail to dsspr@dss.gov.ng. This message is from the Department of State Services, DSS.
Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Welcome back. Let's now join Chiamaka Nwafo for business news.
The contribution of micro, small and medium enterprises, MSMEs, to the Nigerian economy is dampened by an unmet finance gap of $32.2 billion, equivalent to 13 trillion naira. The International Finance Corporation disclosed this in a report titled Market Bite Nigeria. The corporation also said, although lending to the sector has grown by 42% to about 590 billion naira post-COVID, it is still not sufficient enough for MSMEs whose major problem is access to finance. The report added that MSMEs often lack the business and technical capacity to make successful loan applications, while small-scale entrepreneurs, often operating informally and on a micro scale, are commonly perceived as being too costly and too risky for financial institutions to serve. According to the survey, 4 primary funding sources for MSMEs are microfinance banks, which are the highest source of finance, providing $658 million, private equity and venture capital firms, which issued $640 million, and commercial banks, which contributed $340 million, as well as digital financial service providers. Nigerian cinema operators generated a total revenue of 6.94 billion naira in 2022 against revenue of 4.74 billion naira in 2021. The national president of the Cinema Exhibitors Association of Nigeria, Opeyemi Ajayi, disclosed this during an interview in Lagos. Ajayi added that Nigeria's movie industry continues to lead the recovery in Africa post-COVID pandemic. The CEAN president added that a 10 to 15% increase in ticket price would potentially drive box office revenue in 2023, as he expected positive growth by a minimum of 20%, as independent cinemas constituted 25% of the market share at present. Ajayi further predicted growth in the new year as 5 cinemas were opened in the 4th quarter of 2022, adding that a minimum of 3 new locations were expected to open in the first half of 2023. And finally, in stocks, the equity market on Wednesday closed on a positive note as the all-share index grew by 0.55% to settle at 51,729.87 points. Investors gained 154 billion naira as market capitalization appreciated by 0.55% to close at 28.176 trillion naira. The market broke close positive as 26 equities appreciated in their share prices against 12 equities that declined in their share prices. An aggregate of 281.9 million units of shares was traded in 3,679 deals valued at 8 billion naira. And that's it on Business News. I am Chiamaka Nwafo.
Away from Nigeria, Uganda on Wednesday declared an end to an Ebola virus outbreak that emerged almost 4 months ago and claimed 55 lives. Health Minister Jane Ruth Acheng disclosed this at a ceremony in the central district of Mubende, where the disease was first detected in September. The move was also confirmed in a statement issued by the World Health Organization. The WHO commended Uganda for putting a swift end to the Ebola outbreak by ramping up key control measures such as surveillance, contact tracing, and infection preventing and control. It said Uganda's outbreak was caused by the Sudan Ebola virus, one of 6 species of the Ebola virus for which no vaccines have yet been approved. Sri Lanka on Wednesday raised strong objections with Canada over a decision to impose sanctions on 2 former Sri Lankan presidents. Foreign Minister Ali Sabri told the media that he raised Sri Lanka's concerns at a meeting with Canada's acting High Commissioner to Sri Lanka. State Minister for Foreign Affairs Tharabak Balasuria said Canada's decision to impose sanctions came at a time when Sri Lanka was attempting to take forward a post-war reconciliation process. Canadian Minister of Foreign Affairs Melanie Joly announced on Tuesday that Canada has imposed targeted sanctions against 4 Sri Lankan state officials, including former Presidents Gotabaya Rajapaksa and Mahinda Rajapaksa, allegedly responsible for gross and systematic violations of human rights during the armed conflict in Sri Lanka, which occurred from 1983 to 2009. Mahinda Rajapaksa was president when Sri Lanka defeated Tamil Tiger rebels in 2009, while Gotabaya Rajapaksa was the defense secretary at the time and was president between 2019 and 2020 before resigning following protests in the country. And in sports, Chelsea has completed the signing of João Felix on loan from Atletico Madrid, with the Portuguese set to see out the season at Stamford Bridge. Manchester United and Arsenal were reported to be leading the chase for Felix's signature at one stage, as they also seek to add attacking reinforcements to their respective ranks, but a deal worth a reported €10 million has been put in place by the Premier League heavyweights from West London. Chelsea's agreement with Atletico does not include a purchase option, meaning that Felix will be heading back to Atletico Madrid in the summer. We'll now join Adeni Ajishafe for more sports news.
After the disappointment of failing to make the dream of La Decima, the 10th, come true at the 12th Women Africa Cup of Nations, WAFCON, staged by Morocco in 2022, head coach Randy Wardrum is optimistic of an impressive performance at the forthcoming FIFA Women's World Cup finals in Australia and New Zealand, scheduled to host between July and August this year. The American tactician is confident that his team can go far in the global tournament, but insists they have to take it one step at a time. Super Falcons survived a huge scare at the 12th Women Africa Cup of Nations in Morocco, even though the team finished 4th, picking the last automatic ticket from Africa to Australia and New Zealand. Nigerians saw it as a disappointing outing for a team that had won 9 of the previous 11 editions of the competition. Losing 3 out of 6 matches in Morocco was seen as a disaster. The team lost to eventual champion South Africa narrowly in the opening match, and then lost to the host nation Morocco via penalty shootout in the semi-finals, with 2 key players red-carded. The Falcons failed to overcome the setback as they eventually lost to Zambia in the third-place match by a lone goal. World Run will want to quickly wipe out such an unflattering record with a better and improved performance by the most successful women's team in Africa at the forthcoming World Cup. Nigeria will tackle Olympic champions Canada, co-host Australia, and Republic of Ireland in the group stage of the biggest FIFA Women's World Cup finals ever, in Group B of the tournament that begins on 28 July. Australia and New Zealand 2023 is the first time that the FIFA Women's World Cup will welcome 32 teams, the same number as the men's tournament. The Falcons will be based in Brisbane, Australia, for 2 of their 3 matches, with the third game in Melbourne. Nigeria is in the elite group of only 7 countries that have never failed to qualify for the FIFA Women's World Cup since the competition was launched in China 32 years ago. That's Sport News. I am Adeni Ajishafe.
And with this, we've come to the end of News Hour on Trust TV. Don't forget to follow us across all our social media platforms. I'm Darshan Hussaina Usman. Thanks for watching.
From the Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.